I do think all of those players, Kawhi certainly could be the best player in the league next year. So could Giannis. So could James Harden. But let's not forget about LeBron James. And I think we had such an exciting postseason. I think we continue to talk about this upcoming NBA season. There are more teams than ever that believe they have a legitimate shot to win a title. But I am excited to see the player LeBron James comes back as. We know he's going to be in his 17th season in the league, but he's coming off of a season where he played the lowest number of career minutes. He of course, dealt with injury. However, he's had more rest than he's had throughout the course of his career. And so who knows what he will look like, but I believe we are going to see some of the best from LeBron James. I think we are only 2 years removed from a postseason where he was absolutely extraordinary. 34, what was he, 34, 10, and 9?
Over the course of the playoffs.
Over the course of the playoffs. So I believe that it's going to be interesting to see who could shake things up. But at this point, I don't think this poll necessarily means anything more than people are remembering the extraordinary postseason and finals that they saw.
And we have no choice. We don't know moving forward. We don't know Giannis. He's got Kyle Korver there. He's working on a three, trying to keep his elbow in a little more. We don't know what's going to happen over the next couple years. What are we going to go on, the last 5 years? Last 3 years? All we can do is go on last season. And if we go on last season, LeBron James, in no one's world, can say he's the best player. There's no way. How can he? He missed all that time. An injury, we didn't think it was that severe. Now, his numbers, yeah, but there were a lot of players had great numbers. If it was just the numbers, then Harden is the best player. KD during the regular season was phenomenal and also was starting in the playoffs. What if he finishes the playoffs? So you have to go on recent history. And if you're going on right now, Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the league. What he did in those 3 series back-to-back that's the reason why he would have the title. Philadelphia with the buzzer beater, what he did against Giannis, beating them 4-2, winning 4 in a row, and being up 3-1 on Golden State, forcing Kevin Durant off the injured reserve onto the court, which he had that awful injury. So all we can do is go on what happened recently, and Kawhi Leonard, it's not his fault. It's not his fault that he beat Philadelphia. It's not his fault he shut down Giannis. It's not his fault that he's the world champ. That's not his fault LeBron James got hurt.
Well, and far be it for me to criticize a list based on recency bias when about 23 and a half hours ago I did a list and said Patrick Mahomes best quarterback in the NFL. He's only played 1 year ever, but he was so great last year. I really do believe that. And so I get why people would say, man, from what we saw from Kawhi in the playoffs, to give him this title because he won the title. The reason it's hard
and how he played.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. How he played en route to winning the title. The reason this is difficult for me is because this is the most extreme version of recency bias because it's not even based on all of last season. It is based on from the buzzer beater to the final game.
So let's just do this. Let's just change history. Let's say Giannis, they go ahead and beat Toronto. Then Giannis and them go on to beat someone else, whoever in the West.
The Warriors.
And Giannis is. Instead of Kawhi, let's just go with Giannis.
To me, he would have had a stronger claim because at the end of the regular season, people were saying Giannis going to be MVP, might be the best player in the league. And that's what I was getting to, is when the playoffs started, nobody was saying Kawhi's the best player in the world. Maybe people said LeBron's out because he missed it.
Right. If there was 10 players to watch in the playoffs, was Kawhi Leonard not on there?
Oh, he was certainly on there. But
okay, well then what matters?
Okay, so if you can say you can go from the 7th to the 1st in a
The only reason why he was that way, Nick, is because he got injured in San Antonio.
Because he got injured in San Antonio and because over the course of the regular season, he was really, really good, but not extraordinary. And the team was really, really good with him and really, really good without him. Now, we then saw the playoffs. And again, the title he won is a heavy title because there's no other All-Stars, guys that played at All-Star level that year because of who he went through, going through Embiid, then Giannis, then the Warriors. I get all of that. But just a year ago, it wasn't just, Sarah, to your point, that LeBron was way above the pack. It was the guy chasing him was Kevin Durant. Yeah. And then it was a group of people of which Kawhi had been forgotten about because the recency bias at that point had forgotten about Kawhi because he'd been out a year.
I also think we put, and I think deservedly so much weight on what players do in the postseason.
Of course.
Your legacy is made in how you perform during the playoffs. That's everything that matters most. So I believe because LeBron James was not even a part of that, and because of the performance Kawhi Leonard had, and again, Kawhi Leonard should come back. I believe that this should be how we look at it. I just think a lot can change once the ball is actually tipped.
A lot of time, this is people's fault, though. Because when Kawhi went to Toronto, I said Kawhi Leonard's one of the best players in the world. All right? People thought, oh, man, he forced his way out. So somehow they thought he was just an all-star. No, Kawhi was a superstar. And we said on this show, we're going to award the best player after the regular season, and then let's see in the postseason. LeBron James forfeited the title when he wasn't participating. He chose the Lakers. He did not get them into the playoffs. So in the playoffs, after it played out, Kevin Durant, unfortunately, with him getting hurt, he had to be removed from it. Kawhi Leonard was the only man standing. It ain't his fault. It ain't my fault. I believed him. Kawhi Leonard is not an all-star. He is a super-duper star and is in a better situation after carrying that Toronto team to a world championship. I'm not going to change the rules. After I made the rules last year, and then we got to the playoffs and be like, let me try to get this where LeBron. LeBron shouldn't have been in that conversation because he wasn't in the playoffs.
Right, which is all folded into recency bias. Last year at this time, we weren't talking about Kawhi at all. You're right. It's what you remember in the regular season, and then there's a heavy price and a heavy weight that you place on what the performance is like in the postseason.
And I also think, too, with Kawhi, he was load managing throughout the course of the season. So I think a lot of us weren't necessarily talking about him as being the best player in the world just yet because Toronto was still winning when he wasn't on the floor. And
Right.
Was he performing at a high level? Absolutely. But he wasn't doing things that made us think that we were even better than what LeBron James would be doing, Kevin Durant would be doing, all the rest.
But to your point about LeBron coming off the rest, and if he had to forfeit the crown because he didn't just not go on a playoff run, but missed the playoffs entirely, I get it. And we were saying that during the regular season, once it was clear LeBron was not going to make the playoffs.
Because if he was the best player in the world, he should have got that team to the playoffs.
Okay, well, I disagree with that, but however, I did say throughout the year when I thought it was going to be Giannis or Durant that one of them was at least going to be able to temporarily take it. Kawhi ended up being the one. But to your point about what he will look like rested, post-injury, he was 28, 9, and 10. And so rested, fully post-injury, I think LeBron will remind everyone who he actually is this coming season.
I also think, though, it's going to be interesting to see how we perceive things. Not that he still can't be, but with Anthony Davis next to him. Because that could change as it had with Steph Curry or Kevin Durant and what we viewed Golden State to be.
We should mention it has just been announced that Sarah Kustok will be covering the Junior NBA Global Championship again this year. All right, Sarah, tell us what we should be looking forward to. August 6th, right?
It begins August 6th.
Okay.
Extraordinary. It's on Fox. There's kids from more than 40 countries from around the world. There's 32 teams, so 8 boys from the U.S., 8 boys globally, 8 girls from both the U.S. and globally. And it's extraordinary. I mean, it's fun to see the talent. They're 13 and 14-year-old youths who have last year they blew all of our minds. And we just had so much fun, not only getting to watch them, but see them interact with one another, how much they learned, just integrating cultures and getting a chance to really just spend a lot of time together. I'm going to be calling the games with Vince Carter, with Donnie Marshall, Brian Custer's a part of this, Mark Followell. However, the really fun part, too, is that there's other NBA players. Dwayne Wade is an ambassador, so he ends up coming to talk. Rick Carlisle will come and talk to the kids. Win Cash will be there. So it's just a really special time down there in Orlando at the ESPN Wide World of Sports, and it's an excellent experience. I think everyone should make sure to tune in.
Congratulations. A lot of people, they get
Thank
so consumed with these big houses and everything, but a lot of times, when I was a high school coach, it was far more rewarding when you see the foundation.
Yeah.
Like all these kids are dreaming of one day you covering them and you to be able to see them, and their love for the game is just like our love for the game when it's at a great thing, great event.
And the global part of it, right now you have NBA All-Stars from Greece, Cameroon, Croatia, the Dominican Republic,
This was the year.
Australia, Canada. I mean, it is such a global game. It's so cool.
Yeah, and you could. That's the fun part. Who's their favorite player? And many of them have NBA superstars, WNBA superstars to look up to that are from their hometowns